4,000 Albanians, 100,000 Ottomans, a mountain fortress that should have fallen in days. What happens inside a mind that refuses every rational path to surrender? November 28th, 1443. György Castrioti walks away from the Battle of Nish with 300 Albanian soldiers. He served the Ottoman Sultan for 20 years, rose through the ranks, commanded cavalry, won battles against Christians. Then he just leaves, takes his men, forges a letter from Sultan Murad himself, rides to Kruja, his father's castle, and seizes it that same night. The governor hands over the keys. By morning, Kruja flies the double-headed eagle, black on red, the flag his family carried before the Ottomans came. 25 years of war begin with a forgery and 300 men. Skanderbeg, the name they gave him, Iskender Bey, Lord Alexander, was their weapon. Born around 1405 in central Albania, son of Gjon Castrioti, who controlled lands from Lazia to Diber. When György was young, maybe 10, the Ottomans took him as hostage, standard practice. Keep the noble sons, keep the fathers loyal. They converted him to Islam, sent him to the Enderun school in Edirne, military training. He learned their tactics, their logistics, their weak points, fought for them against Serbs, Hungarians, Greeks. By 1440, Sultan Murad appointed him Sanjak Bey of Dibra, a district governor with military command, 5,000 cavalry under his orders. The Ottomans trusted him, he was one of theirs. Takes his 300 Albanians and rides out. Not a retreat, desertion. Straight to Albania. He reaches Kruja on November 28th, uses the forged letter. The governor, Zabel Pasha, reads it, believes it, surrenders control. No siege, no blood, just paperwork and speed. By dawn, Skanderbeg renounces Islam, returns to Christianity, and declares war on the empire he served for 2 decades. He captures nearby castles. Petrela, Preza, Guri, Ibarda, Svetigrad, Modric. Small fortresses, strategic positions. Within weeks, he controls more territory than his father ever did. They form the League of Lazia, a military alliance. First time Albania unites under one leader in living memory. They name Skanderbeg Captain General, Supreme Commander. The League can field about 18,000 troops total, but only 4,000 answer directly to Skanderbeg. The rest belong to the other nobles, their own men, their own interests. It's not an army. It's a coalition held together by shared fear of Ottoman conquest and Skanderbeg's reputation. 25,000 men, some sources say 40,000, infantry, cavalry, engineers. They follow the Drin River Valley south toward Kruja, June 29th, 1444. Plain of Torviol, near Peshkopi in Lower Dibra. Skanderbeg intercepts them. He has 10 to 15,000 men from the League. Rebels and mountain fighters. No contest. Skanderbeg orders his men to extinguish campfires, stay silent, rest. Ottoman parties approach the Albanian positions through the night, shouting insults, provoking. The Albanians don't respond. Skanderbeg sends scouts to map the Ottoman layout. He chooses the terrain. The plain is 11.2 kilometers long, 4.9 wide, hemmed by hills and forests, perfect for ambush. Skanderbeg splits his force into 3 groups, feigns a retreat into the mountains. Ali Pasha watches the Albanians scatter. He thinks they're running, orders his army forward into the gorge. 3,000 Albanian cavalry wait in the forest behind the Ottoman rear under Hamza Castrioti's command. The trap snaps. Skanderbeg's forces emerge from the hills, surround the Ottomans in the gorge, and the cavalry hits their rear. The Ottoman army collapses. Sources don't agree on casualties. Some say 8,000 Ottomans dead. Others say 15,000. Either way, Ali Pasha's army breaks. The survivors flee north. It's one of the first major defeats an Ottoman army suffers in Europe. Word spreads fast. Hungary praises Skanderbeg. The Pope takes notice. Europe has a new champion against the Turks. If you value documented guerrilla warfare and mountain tactics history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from Marine Barletti's Historia de Vita et Gestis Skanderbegi, published in Rome between 1508 and 1510, which remains the primary contemporary account written by an Albanian priest from Shkodër, who lived through the Ottoman conquest, and from Wikipedia's extensively sourced articles on Skanderbeg's rebellion and the Albanian-Ottoman Wars, updated in December 2024, which compile Ottoman administrative records, Venetian diplomatic correspondence, and Ragusan archives. Now back to the information. 1447, Battle of Ornik. Another Ottoman force, this time commanded by Moise Golemi, a former Albanian captain who defected to the Ottomans after a dispute. Skanderbeg crushes them. Golemi survives. Skanderbeg, in a calculated move, forgives him. Golemi returns to the Albanian side. It's strategy. Better to have a competent traitor fighting for you than against you. The pattern emerges. The Ottomans send armies. Skanderbeg uses the mountains, hit and run, ambush, scorched earth, force the enemy to disperse, then strike when they're scattered. He never meets them in open field unless the terrain favors him. His army rarely exceeds 10,000 men. The Ottomans regularly field forces 3, 4, 5 times that size. Doesn't matter. They can't bring their numbers to bear in mountain passes, narrow valleys, forested slopes. Sultan Murad decides to handle it personally. He's done tolerating this rebellion. June 14th, he reaches Kruja with approximately 100,000 soldiers, 60,000 cavalry, the best troops the empire has, artillery, engineers, supply trains. Murad sets up camp at the base of Mount Kruja. The fortress sits on top, stone walls, elevated position, surrounded by rocky terrain. Before the siege begins, Skanderbeg leaves a garrison of 4,000 men under Vrana Conti, also called Count Urani, a trusted lieutenant, Germans, Italians, Frenchmen in the garrison, mercenaries and volunteers. Kruja has supplies for 16 months. Skanderbeg takes 8,000 men, 2,000 infantry, 6,000 cavalry, and positions them on Mount Tumanishta, now called Mount Skanderbeg. From there, he can strike the Ottoman camp without warning. Albanian irregulars, local militias who know every path, every ravine, cut the supply lines. The Ottoman camp runs low on food. Water becomes a problem. Summer heat. Disease spreads. By September, morale in the Ottoman camp collapses. Men are dying from dysentery, malaria, starvation. The castle still stands. Murad sends another envoy to Skanderbeg, 10,000 gold crowns annually if he capitulates. Skanderbeg's response, recorded by Barletti: "Nay, if Murad did divide with me and make me co-partner with all his empire, I would never suffer the name of Albania to be stained and blemished with this blot of disgrace and infamy." The siege continues. July 25th, the Ottomans assemble 8,000 men to attack Skanderbeg's position. He withdraws, lures them toward the foothills. Moisi Golemi and Tanush break into the Ottoman camp from the other side. The next morning, the Ottoman force pursuing Skanderbeg is surrounded and destroyed. Murad watches from the fortress, sees Skanderbeg conferring with Vrana Conti on the rocks above Kruja. They're taunting him. "If you don't, I'll surrender it to the Turks." Venice stalls. They're playing both sides, selling food to the Ottomans, selling food to the Albanians, making profit off the siege. By late October, winter approaches. The Albanian highlands turn brutal, snow, freezing temperatures. Murad lifts the siege on October 26th. He marches back to Edirne. The retreat is a disaster. Albanian militias shadow the Ottoman columns, picking off stragglers, ambushing rearguards. The siege cost the Ottomans 20,000 casualties. Disease, combat, the winter march. Thousands more die on the road. Murad reaches Edirne and dies 4 months later on February 3rd, 1451. Some sources claim he died of disease at Kruja. Barletti says this. It's not true. Ottoman records confirm he died in Edirne, but the myth spreads. The siege broke him. March 26, 1451, Treaty of Gaeta. Skanderbeg becomes a vassal of Alfonso V of Aragon, King of Naples. Alfonso provides troops, supplies, money. Skanderbeg remains independent in practice, but the alliance brings resources. Ambassadors arrive from Rome, Hungary, Burgundy. Skanderbeg is now a European figure. Wants to reconquer Justinian's empire, from Syria to Spain. First, he takes Constantinople. May 29th, 1453. The Byzantine capital falls. The Ottoman Empire now controls the Bosporus. Europe panics. If Constantinople fell, what city is safe? Mehmed turns his attention to Albania. He can't expand west while Skanderbeg holds the mountain corridors. 1452, Mehmed sends a dual command expedition under Hamza Pasha and Tahit Pasha, 25,000 men. The campaign fails. Skanderbeg defeats them. Mehmed sends more armies, 1455, 1456, every year, sometimes twice a year. None break through. Skanderbeg leaves the main force temporarily. An Ottoman relief column attacks while he's gone. One of his captains betrays him. The Albanian besiegers are routed. It's one of Skanderbeg's worst defeats. His forces scatter, but he rebuilds. That's the pattern. Lose ground, regroup, strike back. With him, Hamza Castrioti, Skanderbeg's nephew. Hamza defected to the Ottomans after a dispute. He knows Skanderbeg's tactics, knows the terrain. May 1457, the Ottoman army enters Albania through the Amat River Valley. Skanderbeg tries to delay the vanguard, Akinci cavalry fast raiders. When the main Ottoman force approaches, he retreats. Isa Bey and Hamza expect him to make a stand. He doesn't. Skanderbeg splits his army into small groups, sends them in different directions through the mountains, stays hidden. The Ottomans spend the summer searching for him. They burn villages, destroy crops, massacre civilians, can't find the Albanian army. By September, the Ottomans are frustrated, exhausted, convinced Skanderbeg is finished. His scattered forces regroup without being seen. They attack the Ottoman camp at Ujabarda, now called Albalina. Complete surprise. The Ottomans are unprepared, spread out, demoralized. The Albanian assault kills or captures up to 30,000 men. Hamza Kastrioti is captured. Skanderbeg sends him in chains to Naples to King Ferdinand. The victory is total. It's Skanderbeg's most brilliant tactical achievement. Isa Bey retreats with the survivors. The Ottomans are humiliated. But the campaign devastates Albania. Civilian casualties are massive. The economy is wrecked. Fields burned, villages destroyed, population displaced. Skanderbeg holds the territory, but barely. Skanderbeg sends troops, fights alongside Ferdinand's forces, helps restore control. He's balancing alliances. Naples provides supplies, the Pope provides money, Venice provides trade. But Venice is also a problem. They want to control Albanian coastal cities. They see Skanderbeg as a threat to their Adriatic dominance. Earlier, in 1447, Skanderbeg fought a war against Venice over the fortress of Dagnum. The war lasted months. Neither side won decisively. They made peace because the Ottomans were the bigger threat. But the tension never goes away. Mehmed attacks Venetian territories in Greece and the Adriatic. Venice and Skanderbeg ally against the Ottomans. It's an uneasy partnership, but necessary. 1466. Mehmed decides to finish Albania personally. He leads an army into Albanian territory. Some sources say 30,000 men, others say over 100,000. Mehmed's strategy is different from his father's. He doesn't just attack Kruja. He attacks from multiple directions, reduces Albanian mobility, massacres civilians, burns everything. 2 Ottoman columns advance, one through the Shkumbin River Valley, one through the Black Drin Valley. They spread troops across the frontier regions, raiding, killing, destroying. The goal is to isolate Kruja, cut Skanderbeg's supply lines, break Albanian morale, then besiege the fortress when it's already weakened. The civilian population flees to safe areas. Skanderbeg moves through Albania, gathering forces, facilitating refugee evacuations. Mehmed constructs a fortress at Elbasan in the Shkumbin Valley, a permanent base for future campaigns. Garrisoned, supplied, a forward operating position. While Mehmed builds Elbasan, his general Balaban Badera, an Albanian raised in the Ottoman Devshirme system, lays siege to Kruja. Skanderbeg's brother Pal Kastrioti commands the garrison. Approximately 1,500 to 2,000 men inside. Skanderbeg commands a mobile force of 8 to 13,000. He doesn't attack directly. He harasses supply lines, launches raids, avoids pitched battle. The besieging force, estimated at 100 to 150,000 men, can't sustain itself. April 23rd, 1467. Skanderbeg gathers 13,400 men, including Venetian infantry and Neapolitan marksmen. He splits them into 3 groups, surrounds the Ottoman besiegers, attacks. Balaban Badera is killed in the fighting. The Ottoman forces, leaderless, depleted, surrounded, collapse. The Albanians and Venetians complete the rout. The Ottomans flee toward Dibir. Those who don't escape are killed. Skanderbeg enters Kruja. The siege is lifted. 25 years of continuous warfare. His body is breaking. The Albanian economy is destroyed. The League of Leju is fractured. Many nobles are dead. Others have made separate peace with the Ottomans. Skanderbeg calls a conference at Leju in January 1468. Every remaining Albanian nobleman attends. They discuss strategy, restructure what's left of the League, prepare for the next campaign. During the conference, Skanderbeg falls ill. Malaria, or poison. Sources disagree. His condition deteriorates fast. January 17th, 1468. Georgi Kastrioti. Skanderbeg dies at Leja. He's 62. The conference ends. The nobles disperse. Without Skanderbeg, the League of Leja falls apart. His son, John Kastrioti II, is 12 years old, too young to lead. Lacks his father's military skill, political acumen, personal authority. Venice takes control of Kruja, provides limited support. Leke Dukagjini, a veteran ally from the Dukagjini clan, assumes leadership in northern Albania, continues guerrilla operations, but the unified resistance is over. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from Kenneth Meyer Setton's The Papacy and the Levant, published by Diane Publishing in 1978, a comprehensive academic work on papal and Ottoman interactions, and from the Siege of Kruja article on Grokopedia, updated November 2024, which cites Ottoman military records, Venetian diplomatic dispatches, and archaeological evidence from the fortress excavations. Now back to the information. Albanian resistance continues sporadically until 1482, when Skanderbeg's son, John, is driven out. Shkodër, the last Albanian stronghold, falls in 1479. By 1480, the Ottomans control Albania. They'll hold it for over 4 centuries, until 1912. Spent half his life serving the empire, rose to command. Had wealth, status, future prospects. He throws it away for a castle and a forged letter. Why? The sources don't say. Barletti portrays it as patriotism, a return to his roots, a rejection of the faith forced on him as a child. Maybe, or maybe it's calculation. At Nish, he sees the Ottomans struggling. Hunyadi's crusaders are winning. Murad's army is in disarray. Skanderbeg sees an opening. A chance to carve out an independent principality while the empire is distracted. He's not naive. He knows he can't defeat the Ottomans. But he can make conquest too expensive, too bloody, too time-consuming. Hold them off long enough that they focus elsewhere. Survive. Lured the Ottomans into a trap. Classic guerrilla tactics, but executed perfectly. The Ottomans expect a conventional battle. Lines of infantry, cavalry charges, artillery support. Skanderbeg doesn't give them that. He gives them chaos, surprise, encirclement. 3,000 cavalry hidden in the forest. The main force scattering into the mountains. The Ottomans pursue, thinking the Albanians are fleeing. Then the trap closes. The Ottomans are caught in a gorge, surrounded, confused. The Albanian cavalry hits their rear. The forces from the hills attack the flanks. The Ottomans can't maneuver, can't form lines, can't retreat. They break. That's Skanderbeg's genius. He fights where the terrain neutralizes Ottoman advantages. He leaves Vranakanti with 4,000 men and takes 8,000 into the mountains. From Mount Tumanishta, he can strike the Ottoman camp whenever he wants. The Ottomans can't ignore him. They have to split their forces. Some attack the fortress. Others guard against Skanderbeg's raids. Their focus is divided. Their supply lines are exposed. Skanderbeg hits the caravans, disrupts logistics, forces the Ottomans to forage. But the Albanian highlands don't have enough food for 100,000 men. The Ottomans start starving. Disease spreads. Morale collapses. Murad keeps attacking the fortress, but it doesn't fall. The walls hold. The garrison fights. By October, winter is coming. Murad has to choose. Stay and watch his army freeze and starve, or retreat. He retreats. Skanderbeg wins by not losing. He doesn't defeat the Ottoman army. He outlasts them. That's the pattern for 25 years. The Ottomans invade with overwhelming force. Skanderbeg avoids direct battle, uses the mountains, hits supply lines, burns crops so the Ottomans can't forage, evacuates civilians so the Ottomans can't capture slaves or hostages, forces the enemy to fight on terrain where their numbers don't matter, wears them down, waits for winter, waits for disease, waits for the Ottoman command to decide Albania isn't worth the cost. Then he strikes when they retreat, ambushes the withdrawal, inflicts maximum casualties. Lets them spread out, exhaust themselves, drop their guard. September comes. He gives the signal. His forces regroup without the Ottomans noticing. 30,000 Ottomans die in the ambush. Isabey and Hamza Castrioti, who know Skanderbeg's tactics, who expect his usual strategies, are completely surprised. How? Because Skanderbeg doesn't repeat himself. He adapts. Each campaign, he uses different tactics. The Ottomans come expecting one thing. He gives them something else. 25 years without rest. No pause. Every year, sometimes multiple campaigns a year, the Ottomans come. Every year, Skanderbeg has to fight. He's held them off longer than anyone thought possible, but he's losing. Not militarily, economically, politically, demographically. Albania is dying. They need to rebuild, reorganize, find new allies, new resources. But Skanderbeg falls ill during the meeting. Malaria makes sense. The Albanian highlands, the marshlands near the coast, are malaria zones. He's been campaigning through them for decades. Or poison. Rumored, but never proven. Either way, he's dying. He knows it. What does he think? Does he believe his son can continue? Does he think the League will hold? Does he regret anything? The sources don't say. Barletti's biography, written 40 years later, portrays Skanderbeg as a hero, a champion of Christianity, a defender of Albania. It's propaganda, brilliant propaganda that spreads across Europe, inspires writers, artists, generals for centuries. But it's not a psychological portrait. We don't get inside his head. We get the public figure, the strategic genius, the undefeated commander, but not the man. Not the calculations, the doubts, the moments of desperation when another Ottoman army crosses the border and he has to rally forces he doesn't have, fight battles he knows he can't win conventionally, and somehow survive. Skanderbeg doesn't chase decisive victories. He chases survival. Every battle, every siege, every campaign, the goal is the same. Don't lose. Inflict enough damage that the Ottomans question whether Albania is worth it. Buy time. Hope something changes. Hope the Ottomans face a bigger threat elsewhere. Hope Europe sends real support, not just money and promises. Hope the Albanian nobles stay loyal. Hope the fortress walls hold one more time. And for 25 years, it works, against absurd odds. The Ottomans at 1450 control most of the Balkans. They've crushed Serbia, Bulgaria, Byzantine territories. They're the dominant power. They can field armies Skanderbeg can't match. They have resources, artillery, professional soldiers, administrative systems that span from Anatolia to the Danube. Skanderbeg has 4,000 men directly under his command. The rest of the League of Legia provides troops when convenient, when the threat is immediate, when their own interests align. He has no artillery, no fleet, no secure trade routes, no reliable allies. Venice plays both sides. Naples is far away. The Pope sends money but no armies. Hungary is busy with its own Ottoman wars. 20,000 Ottoman casualties, 1457. Albalina, 30,000 Ottomans dead or captured. Battle after battle, siege after siege. The Ottomans throw armies at Albania, and Skanderbeg breaks them, not through superior force, through superior knowledge of the ground, superior mobility, superior willingness to sacrifice everything except the core objective. Don't lose the fortresses. Don't let the Ottomans establish permanent control. Don't give them a staging ground for Italy. They can use Albanian ports to project power west. Skanderbeg knows this. The European powers know this. That's why they support him. Not because they care about Albanian independence, because Skanderbeg holds a critical buffer zone. He's the mountain wall that blocks Ottoman expansion west. As long as he fights, the Ottomans can't advance. They have to divert armies, resources, attention to Albania. Armies that could be used against Hungary, Venice, the Italian states. The Ottomans keep sending armies, and the mountains keep swallowing them. 1466, Mehmed II, the conqueror of Constantinople, tries personally, brings a massive force, builds a fortress at Elbasan, sieges Kruja for a year, fails, retreats. Balaban Badera, a general who knows Albania, who was born Albanian before the Devshirme took him, dies attacking Kruja. The fortress holds, again. What's inside Skanderbeg's mind during that siege? He's 61 years old, his body hurts. He's spent a year gathering forces, evacuating refugees, fighting skirmishes, watching the Ottomans burn his country. Kruja is surrounded. His brother Pal commands the garrison. 2,000 men against 100,000. The walls are strong, but they're stone and mortar. Artillery can break stone. Mines can undermine walls. Starvation ends any siege eventually. Skanderbeg knows this. He's seen sieges break. Berat fell. Svetograd fell. Kruja held in 1450, but that was 16 years ago. Different garrison, different circumstances. This time, Mehmed is personally commanding. The Sultan who took Constantinople, who has the best army in the world, who will not accept another humiliation. Winter. The Albanian highlands turn brutal in winter. Snow, ice, freezing winds. The Ottoman army is camped at the base of Mount Kruja, exposed, undersupplied. The longer the siege lasts, the more the Ottomans suffer. Skanderbeg's mobile force harasses supply convoys. Local militias cut roads, ambush foragers. The Ottomans can't sustain 100,000 men in hostile mountains through winter. They're dying. Frostbite, disease, malnutrition. The garrison inside Kruja is cold, but they have food, water, shelter. The Ottomans outside are freezing and starving. 9 months later, he's dead. His mind, the strategic genius that held off the Ottomans for a quarter century, stops. No more calculations, no more tactics, no more reading terrain, predicting enemy movements, choosing ambush points, timing withdrawals. Legia, January 17, 1468. Malaria, fever, organ failure. Whatever it was, it ends him. The Albanian nobles disperse. The League dissolves. Leka Dukagjini tries to continue the fight, but he's not Skanderbeg. He's competent, experienced, loyal. But he doesn't have the vision, the tactical brilliance, the ability to unite fractious nobles, the reputation that made the Ottomans hesitate. The fourth siege. This one succeeds. The garrison surrenders. Mehmed keeps his promise. Safe passage. They walk out alive. But Albania is Ottoman. The mountain fortresses, the corridors, the passes, all under Ottoman control. The path to Italy opens. Except it doesn't. Because by 1478, the Ottomans are fighting other wars. Venice, Hungary, Persia. The Italian campaign never happens. Skanderbeg's 25-year resistance bought time. Time for Europe to fortify. Time for the Ottoman momentum to slow. Time for the window of opportunity to close. Over 25 years, the Albanians inflicted over 30,000 Ottoman casualties, possibly more. The sieges of Kruja alone cost the Ottomans 20,000 in 1450, thousands more in 1467. The battles, Torviol, Albalina, Mokra, Oranik, dozens of smaller engagements, ambushes, raids, supply line attacks, each one bleeding the Ottoman war machine. Fields burned, villages destroyed, an economy wrecked, a generation of nobles dead, a population displaced. By 1468, Albania is a shell. The Ottomans won by attrition. They couldn't break Skanderbeg militarily, but they broke the country, burned it down to the point where continuing the fight was impossible. When Skanderbeg dies, there's nothing left to fight with. The fortresses still stand, but the people are gone, the resources exhausted, the will shattered. He forges a letter, takes a castle, declares war, unites his enemies, and fights for 25 years, wins over 20 battles, survives 3 sieges of his capital, outlasts 2 sultans, becomes a legend across Europe, dies undefeated. Albania falls 10 years later, but Skanderbeg never loses. He runs out of time, out of resources, out of body, but he doesn't lose. What mental architecture allows someone to stare at 100,000 enemy soldiers besieging your fortress and think, I can outlast them? Not hope, not prayer, not denial, calculation. Cold assessment of logistics, terrain, weather, morale, supply lines. The Ottomans have 100,000 men, but 100,000 men need food, water, firewood, medical supplies, ammunition, fodder for horses. All of it has to come through mountain passes. Albanian militias control. The Ottoman soldiers are professionals, but they're far from home. The Albanians are defending their homeland. Who's more motivated? The Ottoman command wants a quick victory. Murad has other fronts: Hungary, Serbia, Anatolia. He can't stay at Cluj forever. Every week the siege drags on as a weak Skanderbeg wins. Seeing the supply lines, not seeing the artillery bombardment. Seeing the winter coming, not seeing the overwhelming enemy force. Seeing the moment they'll retreat, and then hitting them during the retreat, ambushing the withdrawal, turning their defeat into disaster. That's what breaks Ottoman morale, not just failing to take Cluj, losing 20,000 men in the process, losing thousands more on the march back to Edirne, coming back with half an army, broken morale, disease-ridden survivors, explaining to the Sultan why the fortress still stands, why the Albanian rebel with 4,000 men defeated an army of 100,000. They think he's beaten. His army is scattered, his force is broken. They celebrate. Then, September 2nd. Every scattered group regroups in secret. They attack the Ottoman camp. Complete surprise. 30,000 casualties. How do you hide 10,000 men for 3 months in a country under invasion? How do you coordinate their movements without being detected? How do you maintain discipline, morale, supply? How do you time the attack so every group arrives simultaneously, hits from multiple directions, traps the enemy? It's also brutal. The Ottomans massacre civilians during those 3 months. Skanderbeg knows they will. He accepts that cost. He's not defending villages. He's defending the strategic position, the fortresses, the mountain corridors, the ability to continue fighting. Individual villages, towns, farms, they're sacrificed. The civilians flee or hide or die. It's cold. It's ruthless. It works. Barletti says, hero. The Albanian national myth says hero. The European chronicles say champion of Christianity. Maybe, but the tactics say strategist, someone who calculates costs, accepts sacrifices, makes hard choices, someone who sees war as a math problem. How do I maximize enemy casualties while minimizing my own? How do I make the cost of conquest exceed the value of territory? How do I survive until the enemy gives up? That's not heroism. That's survival. Brutal, efficient, cold survival. Not defeating the Ottomans, not driving them out, just not losing, not surrendering, not letting them win. For 25 years, promised troops. What moments of exhaustion when his body hurts, his age shows. The years of campaigning in mountains and cold and combat take their toll. Burn the crops. Every decision carries lives. Get it wrong, people die. Soldiers, civilians, nobles. Every decision risks the survival of the cause. Make enough wrong decisions. Albania falls. The Ottomans win. Everything. 20 years of war, thousands dead. A country burned for nothing. Cluj, Albalina. Sometimes he's wrong. Berat, but more right than wrong. Enough right that Albania survives, until he doesn't. Until January 1468, until malaria or poison or age or just the accumulated damage of 25 years catches up. Until the body can't fight anymore. Until the mind stops calculating, stops planning, stops seeing the next move. The noble's waiting for his strategy, his plan for the next campaign. He falls ill, dies, they disperse, the League falls apart. 10 years later, Cluj falls. But for 25 years, inside that mind, the calculations never stopped. The war never ended. The enemy never broke through. 4,000 Albanians against 100,000 Ottomans. And for 25 years, the 4,000 won. Stone walls, mountain peaks, Albanian defenders looking down at an Ottoman camp stretching for kilometers, 100,000 men, siege engines, artillery, supply wagons, command tents. The largest army Sultan Murad II can field, all here to take one fortress. And inside that fortress, Vrana Conti with 4,000 men, and on the mountain opposite, Skanderbeg with 8,000, looking at the siege, calculating, cold, certain. Not that he'll win a battle, that he'll outlast the siege, that winter will come, that supplies will run out, that disease will spread, that in 6 months the Ottomans will retreat. And they do. That an army of 100,000 is weaker than an army of 10,000 if the 100,000 are starving and the 10,000 are fed. That walls outlast artillery if you give them time. That time is a weapon if you know how to use it.